are more oriented towards rich people. And as far as I can remember from the first days of the war, when still the center was alive, downtown Beirut was alive, I mean, you could meet there. It was a place, it was the heart of the city where poor and rich people would meet and would buy their fish or their food or whatever, and that would make a real united society. Nowadays rich people have their own places and the center of the city is belonging to them. 95% of the people are still poor and we don't give a fuck about them.
That sounds like what we call in the United States gentrification. Is that what's happened here? People have just been gentrified and moved away from the city center?
Yeah, but these kinds of things usually lead to some kinds of somehow revolutions, because when there's a lot of poor people and the little rich ones who have everything and the other ones have nothing, they get angry after a while.
I was also asking you about some of the artists that have influenced you. Want to talk a little bit about that? I know you mentioned my man Paris and...
Me, well, I love old school hip-hop from the United States, like, of course, Public Enemy, NWA and stuff like that, but Public Enemy most of all. And I'm a very, what I told you is that I'm very much a fan of Paris. And I think, in my opinion, I love Paris. I mean, anybody can come and say whatever he wants over Paris. I love it. And the thing is that I think, in my opinion, that someone like him, not only for his speech and his music and lyrics and beats and all these things, but the quality of his music in terms of production, which I'm fascinated by, doesn't have the real place that he deserves. But it doesn't matter. He keeps on doing it, and that's great.
So you like the Sonic Jihad album?
Yeah, I like all of them, from the first one to the last one.
So does he have a following, and what other artists have big followings out here, whether it's in Lebanon or in France? Talk about, some of the artists that are making headway here.
Yeah, well, in Lebanon it's not very difficult to understand that the people who have followings is like, the mainstream of American hip-hop, like Eminem, like all these things. Eminem is what's going on mostly here. I mean, people in their cars are putting the boomers up to Eminem and things like that. But in France, people are more... have gone more far into hip-hop from years ago and stuff like that, so people like different stuff, and well, it depends on the people, but there's the mainstream, of course, of American hip-hop in France going on, but there's also people like me loving old school hip-hop like Public Enemy and stuff like that, and also Paris or things like that. So it's quite good in France because there's a big range of taste,
I am lyrical soldier, my word is a bullet sound. As my weapon ain't on the right to teach me how to live for, and ain't no one gonna tell me what to die for. Right now I'm on red alert and it never stops. Introduce me to peace and I hold back my trigger. Let my people alone now, let me throw my anger. Your religious savagery allows you to kill without authorities. Pumping on the minorities, clear the way for my enemies. Let them listen to that, listen to Sadat.
Pursuing peace is the only avenue which is compatible with our culture and creed.
صوب هالبحر وصوب هالدنيا شو اليوم برجع. صوب هالبحر وصوب هالدنيا شو اليوم برجع. Freedom's born from the choice between good and bad, and wisdom consists in not using the last one, except in case of aggression. But who has begun, and who gave him license to raise the gun, to rape the ground of my brother's mounts, squat on my planes, shoot me down in flames. Rapping every day, they said that I breathe with the goddamn airplanes. But don't ever put back again your hands on my children, never. Cause if you keep on growing, I'll crush you with my thumb. You see, word is a link. I am violent, cause you did me harm. You are violent, but you're doing harm to yourself. Keep your hands up in the sky if you don't wanna die. صوب هالبحر وصوب هالدنيا شي اليوم برجع. صوب هالبحر وصوب هالدنيا شي اليوم برجع. في عندي دم بجسمي وانا وياه رحنا سوا هونيك الارض كل في الشمس. ولو ما كان بنا تذكر كل شي من حياتي ودمي. لا اخوة في ايد هالموسيقى بتمي. ما تخاف يا خيي لانه مات هالحية. كان بيلعب بالحجار هلا راح مع الحرب. راح واخد قلوب اولاد معه. بل سنة لريح الدنيا. شمس بيروح وبيرجع كل سنة. وطني عنده حرارة لانه قتلوا ماتوا. بهالدنيا في مليان ما بيعرفوا كيف نعيش وبيجوا ولا بيسألوا. يا دعاني لبنان دعانك طرابلس سيدة بعلمك عنتورة بس كنتا 200 جبيل سحلة بيروت صنين أشرفية جسيم نبطية سور شرة دمور. صوب هالبحر وصوب هالدنيا شي اليوم برجع. أنا برجع والله خليني نموت بوطني لبنان.
You know, one of the things that I was thinking, for people tuning in, we're talking with Clotaire K. He's a rapper. We're here in Beirut, if you can believe that. It's nighttime, real nice city, but as you said, there's another side to it, and we should also keep that in mind, that things are going to have to change. Do people here relate to, are they aware of, and do they connect themselves with the various struggles of oppressed people from around, you know, the world? Here, of course, in Beirut, not too far, about an hour and a half away, you have Palestine. What's the relationship with the Palestinians? And of course, in America, you have a lot of people of communities of color, mainly black and brown, that find themselves in oppressed situations, especially that came to light after Hurricane Katrina. Is there a relationship, and is there a desire to build bridges with those various communities, or at least be inspired by their respective struggles?
Well, concerning America and all these things, not really. I mean, and most people and stuff like that, they're not very concerned about this. Like, you know, well, there's been this massive hurricane and stuff like that. People, they have this information like everyone around the world and stuff, but they don't build bridges, as you say. But concerning Palestinians, they're more concerned here because it's obviously their neighbors. I mean, it's their next door, so people feel it. And there's a lot of Palestinians in Lebanon, but it's also tricky. Everything is tricky here. It's never. I mean, you know what's the main problem actually for me is like when I hear George Bush talking on TV and talking about how simple it is to eradicate terrorism and how simple. You see him and you think that in his mind he thinks that it's so simple. I mean, you know, you got the good and the bad, and then you erase the bad and you just have the good. But here in the Middle East, the minds of the people are there's loads of ideas contrarily to what we think. People have many sorts of ideas going on through their brains. It's not like black and white and, you know, good and bad and things like that. It's much more complicated. And for a brain of someone like George Bush, I think it's very complicated to understand these things. So when he thinks that it's so obvious to regulate and to sort out these problems, he's very far away from the solution. So, well, people here, there's been problems during the war, and people want to delete this from their memory and things like that. And obviously they feel concerned about what's going on, because here as well we've suffered from, you know, the Israeli army, who felt like it's not a problem for them to send their planes whenever they want to say we occupy over Beirut and say, you know, we come over the city, and nobody says we don't have the right to go into your private airspace, you know.
You know, that's interesting that you talked about that with Israel, and maybe you can explain, because things are very complicated.